Hello, my name is Annabel Nixon and I'm here with my co-author Diane. And today we're going to talk to you about a book that we've written about patient-reported outcomes. And patient-reported outcomes is information that's reported by a patient directly about their experience of receiving a treatment or some kind of intervention, and this information is not interpreted by anybody else. And the book that we've written is available in electronic format, and we thought it would be helpful today if we introduced ourselves as the authors of this book and also walked you through the chapters in the text to give you a little bit of information about what we cover. I've been working in the field of patient-reported outcomes for about 20 years now. Initially in an academic setting, I was involved in a research project developing a measure of health-related quality of life for use in a public health setting in Kenya. And then I moved into the research consultancy side of things, working always with patient-reported outcomes, with experience in the United States as well as in the UK. I now work independently as a research consultant at Chile Consultancy.
And my name is Diane. My background is actually in patient-reported outcomes. I've been working in patient-reported outcomes for the past 20 years. I was a founding director of international research consultancy, and now I'm actually working as an independent consultant. And our other co-author, Willie Mulhausen, he has been working in electronic patient-reported outcome measures and the technology around that for the past 20 years, and he's currently a VP at Icon PLC.
So the book itself has 6 chapters. It's an introduction to patient-reported outcomes, so it's very accessible. The first chapter really introduces the field of patient-reported outcomes to the reader. It introduces the definitions and the terminology that will allow you to fully understand the rest of the content of the book. The second chapter then considers all the different ways in which patient-reported outcomes data is used in different settings. So we look at patient-reported outcomes in the clinical trial setting, in the regulatory environment, with health technology agencies, with clinicians. So it gives you a good sense of the real use behind patient-reported outcomes data. As we move into chapter 3, we think about a very practical use of PROs, patient-reported outcomes, and particularly in terms of designing a patient-reported outcomes measurement strategy. And we help provide you with the tools to either design that strategy yourself or to contribute to a team involved in that activity.
So chapter 4 is our linguistic validation chapter. And linguistic validation is the methodology that we use to translate patient-reported outcome measures to make sure that we have conceptual equivalence between our original source patient-reported outcome measure and the languages that we're translating into for our multinational trials. And in this chapter, we talk about the methodology that has been developed and what's involved in terms of a forward translation from English into another language, a back translation back into English, and most importantly, the testing that we actually do with the patients, with the condition that the patient-reported outcome is actually in relation to. We talk about how we validate the translations, and we talk about how the regulatory authorities such as the FDA and how they view the methodology that we use in this area. And we also talk about some of the issues in relation to, for example, English and French and Spanish, where we have multiple countries actually essentially speaking the same language, but with slight differences that we need to take into consideration when we're using a patient-reported outcome in all these languages. And chapter 5 is our ePro chapter, and this is where we actually talk about the technologies that are currently available for use. We have heavy use of smartphones and tablet devices and all sorts of different devices that are increasingly used in our clinical trials. And we're talking in our chapter about how we go about developing measures and migrating measures for use on these technologies. And again, talking a little bit about regulatory authorities, how they view the migration and the validation of these measures, and also about how the patient groups actually feel about the use of technology in this area. And then our final chapter is looking at PROs again, and we're looking at how we actually deal with PROs in terms of the data we collect and how we go about analysing that data, and then how we go about reporting that data, because there's a number of unique characteristics in patient-reported outcome measures which needs to be treated very carefully in terms of our analysis and reporting. So that is essentially our book. Our book is actually written as an introductory level. We've written in a very clear and concise way with as little use of jargon as possible. And we recommend it for use by people who are working in a variety of different fields. It's not a heavy read, and it's great value for money. Thank you very much.